All right, everybody, it's time for the End of Chaser Spirits and Beer Pairing Show. It is Wednesday, May the 28th, 2025. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Beer Samurai and Mr. Beer and Whiskey Whisperer. Both in one
Hey
location.
guys, what's going on? I'm going to start mixing my cocktail as you're introducing, Johnny.
Glad you said tail.
Sometimes I forget that part.
You're going to get them going right
That's
away. Right off the bat.
Right out of the gate. Exactly.
It's like the 80s all over again.
All over
It's going to
again.
be one of those shows.
Exactly.
Okay, well, John, this was your challenge.
It was.
So
It was.
Why don't you introduce it?
All right, so tonight's challenge
Brought to you by the letter. Oh, sorry.
Brought to you by the letter N. Why not? Is a reimagined Negroni. A reimagined Negroni. So basically, the challenge was in a Negroni, there's 3 equal parts, right? There's gin, Campari, and sweet vermouth. I said you have to keep the sweet vermouth, and you have to replace the Campari and the gin.
Okay.
Whatever you did, Thomas.
All right. Once again, I thought I figured it out, but I still, I thought he said the only thing you could keep was the sweet vermouth. I didn't hear it as a mandatory.
Yeah, well, you know what? If you didn't, you didn't. That's fine. But you keep the sweet vermouth, and you had to replace the gin. You couldn't use gin. You had to replace the gin with another base spirit, whatever that is. It didn't have to be bourbon or tequila or rum or whatever. Anything that you wanted to use as your base spirit. Wide open. Have at it, right?
I've got mine ready.
And then you need to replace the Campari with another bitter herbal liqueur. Right? In vein of the Campari, of course.
Do we have to play bass while we're pouring the spirit?
You can. A bass spirit, yes. Mine is a Fender Jazz bass. I'll play my Fender Rhodes while you play your Fender Jazz.
All right. Tell me when you're ready. I'm ready to pour.
Go for it. Pour and talk about yours while I make mine.
Okay. So once again, I thought I had it figured out, but apparently I just didn't. And let's be honest. I mean, this isn't the first time I misinterpreted the challenge, but so it's kind of becoming a thing at this point. So
I think it's a funny thing or a fun thing.
So what I did here was I'm using Mezcal, which you guys know is out of my comfort zone. So I've been trying real hard to not. I have a bunch of whiskey in the house. I said no, I'm not going to do that. That feels too easy. So I used the Mezcal as my base spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But so replacing the Campari with another herbal, I just discovered this product about a week and a half ago. Suze. I was completely unfamiliar with it, so I used this in place of that component. But where I misunderstood is I thought.
Well,
you said you could complete the.
Go back, explain Suze to us.
Yeah, explain Suze.
Okay, so that's a good question because I knew very little about it until I had it at a cocktail class about a week and a half ago. Since 1889, we've been making Suze with the strictest respect and tradition for fresh, wild gentian from the French mountains. The traditional distillation of gentian roots and aromatic bouquet blend give it a characteristic bittersweet and a unique personality. Yeah, it's very herbal, a little bitter, but it's also got some sweetness to it. And I used it for the first time in a cocktail class about a week and a half ago as I'm trying to learn some new techniques. But then the third component, I did keep vermouth. I just didn't keep sweet vermouth. I decided again, this is another product I used for the first time about a week and a half ago. Is the Blanc, the Dolan Blanc vermouth. So I used this in place. So I was basically trying to go more of a spring cocktail, which is why I wanted to replace the sweet vermouth. I just misinterpreted altogether. So I've got a garnish of lemon and candied jalapenos to add just a little brightness and spice to the cocktail. And I like the looks. It really gives it that kind of sunny spring cocktail look.
There you go. Do me a favor, spell Suze for me.
Suze. Let me show you the bottle. Have you guys ever used it? Oh my God, that's delicious. Have you guys used it?
I've never used it. I've seen it. I can't say that. I've had it in cocktails before because I know I've been to cocktail bars that used it. I personally never owned a bottle or poured it or made a cocktail with it, but I've had it before. But
I knew nothing about it until a week and a half ago, but now I'm totally obsessed.
Wow. So, what are you doing
So
there?
I've got that mezcal. The mezcal adds that little bit of smokiness to the cocktail, where that Suze adds those slightly sweet and bitter herbal notes, and the Dolin Blanc, the Blanc vermouth. That's an interesting component. I don't know if you've used it before, but that just adds a hint of sweetness.
No, I have too, and you know what? I use I have used the Dolin Blanc before, but in place of that, I always go with the little Lillet Blanc.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And which I've been using. I mean, same, general idea.
It's very interesting. It just makes it a nice, fresh spring-like cocktail, especially with that slight smokiness from the mezcal.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And I'll apologize for once again fucking up your challenge.
Oh, good. Hey, you know what? It sounds fantastic. I actually may need to try just that. So,
as Dave is working feverishly over there.
Dave
is
not
feverishly. I'm going at a pace, not a brisk one per se, but definitely a pace.
He looks like it. Well, maybe I said that wrong. He looks like a very serious mad scientist over there.
Well, there you go.
Well, I'm actually going to do something today that I rarely do. I'm actually going to garnish.
There you go.
But what I've done here is, for a change, I followed the rules. And I started off with well, I'll start off by saying I made a variation on a Boulevardier.
Right.
Which
okay. Yeah.
It's just a Negroni with rye.
It's a Negroni with rye instead of gin. That's a Boulevardier. Right.
So I did replace the gin with High West double rye. I did use the sweet vermouth.
That's a great whiskey, by the way. Yeah.
And Antica.
Antica is fantastic.
And then I used Fernet citrus.
Nice.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing there. Yeah.
And then I just added a touch of Grand Marnier to just round things out a little bit.
Okay, a little bit of orange to brighten it up. Yeah.
And what I've done is I roasted some lemons.
Mm-hmm.
So I've got one floating in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little bit of French gray sea salt on the lemon and let that float along in there. So this is what I've done. This is what we've got here.
Very nice, very nice.
And the thing is, I used the High West double rye. The reason I used the High West double rye because I wanted something dry. High West double rye is really only about. Well, it's a blend of two different ryes. It's a 2-year-old rye with no corn.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a shit ton of rye, by the way.
It has a lot of rye. Yeah,
I think it's like 70% rye in that one. And then a 15-year-old rye that's 37% corn.
Mm-hmm.
So with that blend in there, you're probably looking at somewhere around 20% corn. So it's a pretty dry rye.
Mm-hmm.
Dry rye. Yeah, as opposed to the Still Austin that I use, which is actually about 70% corn.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a sweet rye. Remember, I used that in a cocktail, I think on the last show.
You did on the last show. Yes, you did.
So this I call a Boulevard because that is, since I'm using Fernet, which is a Czech ingredient. That's about the only thing that's changed in it in a Boulevardier, and Czech is Boulevard is Czech for boulevard. So.
Not to be confused with Budvar, which is also Czech.
Mm-hmm.
However, it's not a drink or a cocktail. It's it's a drink, but it's not a cocktail. It's a beer.
I should have poured a double. I really should have poured a double.
Yeah, I didn't pour a double either, but
I always pour a double, man.
I think I put a little too much Grand Marnier in this.
Gotcha.
That's all right. That's all right.
Anything less than 2 ounces is a kid's drink.
There you go. Well, no, I mean this is 4 and change.
That's still 4 ounces.
Yeah.
Well, I meant of your main spirit. You got to have at least 2 ounces of your main spirit.
So I went in a different route. It's a Negroni, right? So I went to Italy.
I'm gonna double this up while you're taking us through the voot.
You got it. So I went to Italy, right? I stayed in Italy. Negroni, vermouth, all Italian. So I decided that my base spirit, if you will, was going to be my rustic Nocino from Ederine.
Oh
Black
gosh.
walnut
Okay.
liqueur from Ederine
Yeah.
Distillers down in Asheville. All
That's
right.
nice. All right.
So, and of course, sweet vermouth, and I also used for my bitter herbal liqueur. I went with my Bully Boy Amaretto,
Bully for you.
Amaro Rababero.
Okay.
And and I call this.
I thought you were putting a couple shakes of bitters in it. You told me.
And yeah, I was going to, and I decided not to because when I made the minor cocktail, it tasted better without the bitters.
Oh, okay.
So I left those out. So just the 3. That's it, equal parts. And here you go. There you go. It's a nice darker Negroni, and I'm calling this a Nochagroni.
Negra Dolce. You keep saying
a Nochagroni. Nochagroni.
Nochagroni. You want to go that way?
Nochagroni. Yeah.
That's not what we discussed.
Well, no, we discussed both of them. I went with Nochagroni.
Well, you know the word for boulevard in Italian is dolce.
Is what?
Dolce.
Dolce, yeah.
So it's Dolcegroni.
Dolcegroni. Well, I went.
What's the noce for? Oh, from the
Nocino. From the Nocino. Nochagroni. So
Dolcegroni.
there you go. Just call it Groni. Anyway, so cheers, gents.
You happy now, Tom? I doubled up.
There you go.
The main reason I did is because I put too much. I put about twice as much Grand Marnier in it as I should have. So just double the rest of the ingredients. And
I never make a cocktail that's not a double. A Manhattan should always be a double. So should an old fashioned is always a 2 ounce base spirit cocktail.
Manhattans and old fashions, they always make doubles. Always.
It's funny because I usually almost always start with 2 ounces of the base.
They're always 2 ounces. They're a total of 3 ounces.
You know why I didn't this time? The reason I didn't do it this time is I didn't know if I had
2 ounces of your main spirit
net to stretch for the cocktail.
Gotcha.
So I started off with the 1 ounce, but there's enough, so I did the 2.
With old fashions and Manhattans, I always make at least a double. My Manhattan and old fashioned cup runneth over.
Oh yeah, see, I usually do about a 2.5 ounce. Yeah.
Well, when I make a Manhattan, this is a standard coupe. I've shown you this before. This is the coupe I use.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, you got a big one, yeah.
Thank you, Tom.
Does that look about the same size, David? This coupe?
Yeah, it's about the same.
No, the one I've got's actually a little bigger because
I do have a smaller one, but this is what I like to use.
Look at the size of this one compared to
that one looks about the same size. Yeah, looks like about the same.
About the same. But when I do a Manhattan in that, it's I do 2 jiggers, but I got the double, so I start off with 4 ounces of bourbon when I do a Manhattan. So when I drink,
really 4, okay. I typically use 2.5 to 3, but 4, that's a big drink, yeah.
Yeah, I go 4, and then and I usually there's times where I've had 3 of those in one night and slept so well, and then regretted it the next day.
Of course.
Yeah. Speaking of regretting it the next day, so Saturday, my wife threw a birthday party for me for my 60th at Banter Brewing.
We should have started with that. We should have started with happy birthday, Tom.
Yes, happy birthday, Tom.
I'm 60. I'm the oldest of the 3 of us. Can you believe that?
Yes, you are. Well, you know what? You know what, though, Tom? In all fairness, prior to your 60th birthday, you were still indeed the oldest of the 3 of us.
Yes, that's true. But I look younger than you guys.
This is true.
Thanks for humoring me, since we all know that's not true. But
yeah.
What's
especially, well, you know what? Especially in your new profile picture, I love that thing.
Oh, you like that? Yeah, I've been going nuts with those things. So here's the thing: I was having fun drinking at my party. It was a lot of fun. There was 3 bottles of whiskey given to me that I would share with some other folks because folks brought in other bottles of whiskey to share with me. So the next morning, anyway, I'm talking about the 3 bottles of whiskey, and my wife says, "Dear, there's more in the car." So I started unloading the crap, and there's several more bottles of whiskey and a whole bunch of beer and shit. I didn't realize somebody gave me a bottle of Blanton's.
Oh,
Wow,
nice.
Another friend gave me a bottle of Weller.
Very nice.
Very nice.
I did very well.
You did very well.
That's why the main reason I understand why you went the direction you did, Dave, and that makes sense. The main reason I didn't go that way is because I felt like that was too much in my comfort zone. You know, for me to go to whiskey felt safe for me because I'm always going whiskey cocktail. So I made myself do this mezcal because it's something that I never drink.
Well, the reason I went that way is because there's not much left in the High West bottle. And,
Oh yeah, gotcha.
And I like to empty bottles. I like to get them empty.
Mm-hmm.
I like to get them off my shelf so I can make room for new ones.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that.
What's interesting about your birthday is there's someone that John and I know who celebrated his 70th birthday the same day you celebrated your 60th. And,
Oh really?
Yep, and he's the man never drinks a glass of water, and he never uses suntan lotion. But he is made to 70, and man, he is spry and active. So, Jim LaCrusty, happy 70th to you.
Happy 70th, Jim. We got to come back out to Montauk with you soon.
Yeah, we got to get back out there, man. That was so much fun. So,
it feels like it was just yesterday. This October's gonna be 3 years since we were out there. By the way.
Oh yeah, no, I've been out on the boat.
You went out last year
with my son, and hopefully, if we go back out in the boat, the water won't be quite as choppy because Matthew chummed for us to begin with. That was nice. That was very thoughtful of him, and then went and took a nap for the rest of the session.
There you
go. But hey, like the captain said, he goes, not for nothing. The kid hung in there. He's like, most people would be screaming to go back to dock.
Take me back!
Because he laid down, closed his eyes, and never heard of it.
Here's the thing. I'm dating back to when I was a kid and everything else, right? Motion sickness does affect me sometimes. Not all the time, sometimes, right? It just depends on my mood, what I've eaten, what I've drank, blah, 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 right? So specifically speaking about when we were out on Jim's boat, or any boat for that matter, for me, I mean, I don't care how choppy it is. I don't care how rough it is. When we're moving, as long as no anchor is dropped, right? When we're
just bobbing,
right? When we're moving, I'm fine. Have at it. I'm all over the place. I'm having fun. I'm doing what I got to do, right? You drop an anchor, all right, and the boat's doing its thing, right? That's when it starts to hit me. So, like when we were back. If you remember when we came back from our cruise out to the, Block Island Sound and around to the lighthouse and back, we came back to the dock and we docked and we sat and had a couple of beers on the boat before we left the boat, right? Right, maybe about 5-10 minutes before we were finished having those beers, it was just starting to get me because it was anchored and it wasn't bad, right? It was just sitting in the dock, but that's when I was like, I looked at Jess and I'm like, we should be getting off of this thing soon.
One of the tricks.
But what's weird with me though, I take one step on the dock, done. I'm fine.
Well, a lot of people are like that. But one of the tricks, because I've been susceptible to motion sickness on a boat, is to get yourself close to the rail so you can't see any part of the boat. Because what gets you motion sick is looking at the water and the boat, and they're moving in different directions.
Yeah.
And
really? I never thought of that. That's okay.
Your eyes and your stability system, your built-in stability system can't handle a bunch of things all moving in different directions at the same time.
Right. Exactly.
So there you go. Now we have a chaser on this, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Tom,
what is your chaser?
So let's hope I didn't fuck up this portion. And the chaser was just a beer, right? A beer that would work with whatever.
A local beer.
That didn't have to be a local beer.
Oh, I thought you said local beer.
It can be a local. It can be a local beer, but it didn't have to be a local beer.
So Dave's response to me was it didn't have to be a local.
It didn't have to be a local beer. I have a local beer, but it wasn't because we needed to have a local beer. It was just what.
So I didn't go local mostly because I always go local. I didn't go local because I didn't go local because I got this is one I got for my birthday, and that is it's from close to your guys' neck of the woods. It's out of Albany, New York.
Okay.
Which brewery we got there?
It is Fidden's Imagery West Coast IPA.
Nice.
Have you guys had this one?
I've had Fidens. I have not had that one.
No.
Oh, Fidens. Okay, sorry, I pronounced that wrong. But it's 7.2%, and I got to tell you, this thing is delicious.
Fidens make some good beer. That's for sure.
They do that.
It is very very botanical up front, let's say, because you get that pine note is right there. A lot of mixed citrus, mostly orange, but in this particular version of a West Coast, it's the botanical or that pine note that's the star.
Nice, very nice.
And I kind of went with this one because I felt, again, that the botanical or herbal-like note of this particular IPA would balance what I had with that cocktail.
Very nice. And does it?
Yeah. And then I had it.
And then you had it. There you go.
I had several local choices, but I always drink a local beer. So I took today to not do a local.
Fair enough. Samurai?
So you can see I've got here a dark beer.
That's a dark beer. I see that.
It's in a dark can.
In a dark can.
And the dark can is Raven Dark.
Raven Dark. That is one of your favorites from that particular brewery in Clifton.
This is Ghost Talk in Clifton.
No, actually, it's Put it back up. It's Qua Sug.
Well, yeah, I had to reverse my purposely reversed my my camera because otherwise I'm behind the logo.
Oh, I see what you did there.
So I had to reverse the camera. So I want to sit behind because if I go in, I do take mirror camera off. The logo magically disappeared as well.
No, it didn't. It moved over to me.
Well, how about that?
There you go.
So where's that brewery out of, David? I'm not familiar with them.
It's in Clifton, New Jersey. It's just right off of Route 21, which is off of Route 3, which is off of 495, which is off of Park Avenue, which is what the road I live off of.
So it's not far away from Dave, is what he's saying.
Well,
and it's even closer to where I grew up.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all that, but it meant absolutely nothing to me.
I'm sure it didn't. But
I've only seen shit in the movies, man.
If you've ever heard of a hot dog joint in New Jersey called Rutt's Hut, which isn't beyond the realm of possibility because it's
now you're stealing my lines, yeah.
Right. It is literally across the street from there. So
yeah.
Voted every year.
Nice, very nice.
The best hot dog place.
Voted every year best hot dog place in the United States. Yes.
Yeah. But no, I love this beer. This place is probably no more than 20 miles away from me, and sometimes it can take a full hour to get there.
Traffic?
I think it may even be closer. Actually, I think it may be more like 10 or 12 miles from me.
Maybe 12 miles, but it could take a long time to get there sometimes.
Yeah, depending on the time of day you go. Absolutely, yeah.
Just getting off of 321 can take you a very long time.
Forget about it, yeah.
But just getting out of my neighborhood, it's about almost half an hour.
Half an hour just to get to 495. Yeah.
Yep. So, but no, what I wanted to
see, I don't miss having those conversations. Growing up in California, it was always conversations just like that. I don't miss having to have those conversations.
No,
well, I'll tell you, and Dave can concur with this because he grew up down here. But other than North Jersey and New York, coming down here by where I am, there's not really a lot of traffic. There's pockets here and there, but minor, daily kind of.
It's just getting to where John is.
It's getting down here.
Between Memorial Day and Labor Day will cost you almost the whole weekend.
Right.
People will sit in their cars for 3 hours.
But if you're smart, you leave before or after that traffic.
Yeah, the thing is, it keeps shifting around as people are like, okay, if I leave early, and then everyone thinks the same thing, and they all leave at the same time.
Leave early, get down, go have breakfast somewhere, sit, relax for a little bit, and then go check in or whatever you
There
do.
are some people that
Well, grab
you're
all the
almost
shit you need and never leave during that period of time.
The best thing to do is to take a half day on a Thursday and leave around noon on a Thursday.
That's always a smart idea. If you're going down for the weekend, that's a 100% smart idea.
And if you leave like first thing Sunday morning, you can avoid the traffic.
And those of you that don't know what we're talking about the Jersey Shore, okay, and not the TV show made with a bunch of people from Long Island and Staten Island,
and one from Rhode Island,
right? We're talking about the actual shoreline of New Jersey.
Where all the beaches are.
Where all the beaches are and boardwalks and amusements and
they made you guys look really bad.
Oh yes, they absolutely.
And they weren't from Jersey, so
Nope.
that's the fact.
That's the funny part. Yeah, you had tourists. Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is most people think that New Jersey is Sopranos, Jersey, Real Housewives of Jersey, and
Jersey Shore. And it's
is
not
it close to any of those?
And it's not the Jersey Shore.
Please tell me it's like the Sopranos. Please tell me that's close.
It depends on what part of Jersey.
It depends on what part of Jersey you're from. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that there's no similarities or to some people in the Sopranos. And I don't mean the mob by any means. I just mean the actors, the way they acted and portrayed themselves,
and the mispronunciation of lunch meat,
and mispronunciations and stuff like that. Yeah, that goes on, and whatever, you know. But the Real Housewives of New Jersey, it's a very focused, tiny little. They
just found some of the worst human beings they could possibly find. As they do
for
every iteration of that show.
And I actually do know a couple of them.
Do you really? Oh no.
Well, not like I'm friendly with them and we hang out or anything. I just have met them. I've come across them.
Gotcha.
We've been each other's company at certain times, at certain points in time.
But no, we're not all in the sanitation business.
No.
We all don't. Not all of us dispose of heads in bowling bags into the swamps of Jersey.
All right. Yeah. Well, it's and we're not all stuck in the mud somewhere in the swamps of Jersey either. So.
No, we're not. Yeah. Nice boss reference.
I'm sorry, I had to make a boss reference there. So. All right, so my beer.
Okay, tell me about the beer.
My beer. I actually went local. Tall Oaks is the offshoot, is the second version, second incarnation, if you will, brewery of Bradley Brew Project in Bradley Beach. This is in Farmingdale, and Tall Oaks Brewing. This is their cultivator, Doppelbock. Doppelbock.
Oh God, I love a Doppelbock.
That brewery is about 5 miles from where my mom lived when I was born.
Right, which is about 6 miles from me.
Yep.
Right. No, the brewery is about 6 miles from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was because we lived right down, probably maybe only 3 miles. We lived in downtown Farmingdale.
You're right. You're right there. So I went with that because this particular Doppelbock has some nutty characteristics.
Let me see that color, John.
Like me right now. Some nutty characteristics. And
hold that up so I can see the color.
The Nocino.
Oh yeah, that's gorgeous. Yeah.
The Nocino has obviously nutty characteristics for being a black walnut liqueur. So plus a little bit of the fruit matches. So this is the one I went with.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Doppelbock is one of my favorite styles. I love a good style Doppelbock.
I'm a big German beer fan. I'm a big English style beer fan. But to be quite, I'm a big Czech beer fan. I'm a big Belgian beer fan. There's really not a lot of.
I'll say this is really going to go on far too long if you keep this up.
No, I'm just going to say there's really not a lot of styles that I dislike.
That's what I said. If you keep naming styles that you like,
there's not a lot of styles I dislike that don't include lactose.
Right. No, I wouldn't mind.
And that even has its place too. You put a tiny little bit just for mouthfeel and texture in the milk stout. It's fantastic. You fill half of the can with milk sugar, and the other half the can with fruit. I'm good. I'm good. I will respect it. I will, give it its place. I will taste it, but that's about it. So that's me. But have at it. As Dave says, drink what you want. Let others drink what they want.
Well, yeah, that's always my thing. Especially when you're talking about whiskey, people tell you, well, you have to drink this way or that way. My caveat to that is that if you've bought the bottle, drink it any way you want. But if you're at somebody's house and they offer you a nice pour, don't ask to put soda pop or something. And if they offer you a pour, drink it the way they hand it to you, or don't drink it at all.
Right, 100%, 100%. So
don't ask to put soda pop in a pour of Pappy.
yeah,
that will get you killed in my neck of the woods.
You don't want to do that. You know, there's no way. Look,
there's a lot of things that'll get you killed.
But I once, it's not quite that severe, but I had a bottle of Redbreast 15, and somebody wanted to put some 7-Up in it, and I swear to God, I almost killed this sumbitch.
Redbreast 15, great. There you go.
I mean, are you seeing what I'm talking about? Why would you put soda pop in Redbreast 15?
Well, apparently, one night I finished my bottle of Redbreast 12 because it's not here anymore.
you finished it on the show, Dave. You finished it on one of the in March. Yeah, you finished it on one of the shows.
Okay.
So, John, I know you're a bit of a music guy like myself. Did you hear or did you see yesterday that Rick Derringer had passed?
Derringer, yeah, we actually talked about it on the beer show last night.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, he was. I actually got a chance to meet him twice. He was a very nice guy, very friendly. I met him at the NAMM show. I think it was 82, but it could have been 83. It was a long time ago. Anyway, I was in a band at the time, and he talked to us.
You were out where the NAMM show always was.
In Anaheim. It was in Anaheim. There were at that moment in time, it was in Anaheim, California, but nevertheless. No, but he took about 15, 20 minutes and just talked to us. It was amazing. And I met him about a half dozen years later at a small club in Little Rock, Arkansas. And after the show, he just came down and just started talking to everybody. He was a genuinely nice individual and a very underrated guitar player.
Oh, 100%. You got to be that way, though. And
the third winter brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Not quite albino, though.
No.
He spent so much time with Johnny and Edgar Winter. He was referred to as the third winter brother.
A
little darker.
There you go. But yeah, no. It's speaking of that though, like you get to the NAMM show out there. I was fortunate enough to go to because every other year the AES show, the Audio Engineering Society show.
Oh yeah.
They went back and forth. One year East Coast, 1 year West Coast, 1 year East Coast, back and forth. So I always went whenever it was in the Javits Center. I was over there.
I go to the GOA show a lot.
The who?
The GOA.
GOA.
Gratuitous Obscure Acronym Show.
Gratuitous Obscure Acronym Show. Yeah.
Where are we holding that this year?
Gratuitous Obscure Acronym Show. We need to. I'm writing that down because we need to do that.
Yeah, we need to do it. We need to make that conference. I swear to God.
Gratuitous.
You know, we did not carry over from yesterday.
Although I wouldn't call NAMM obscure, but I guess it could be if you're not a music guy,
or didn't live out there, or didn't follow all of the tours.
At that time, yeah, man, I was hardcore into it as a kid.
Yeah.
Much to my dad's chagrin.
There you go.
But if you can't piss off your parents, who can you piss off?
Who can you piss off? Exactly. I say that.
Just about anybody you meet. Just saying, if you can't piss off the people immediately around you, you're not trying hard enough.
Well, you know what I say, right? It's better to be pissed off
than pissed on.
Than pissed on. Exactly.
Unless you're Tom.
I'll drink to that. I'll drink to that, Johnny. By golly.
So, those AES shows though, they were fantastic. And the people you meet there too, because it's everybody, right? You're a musician, you're there, you're an audio engineer, you're a producer, whatever. You go to these shows, you're looking at equipment, you're talking to people. There's breakout sessions and so forth and so on. But musicians, top engineers, top producers, top artists are walking around too. I mean, I have. As much as I like a lot of different genres of music, much like I like a lot of different genres of beer, if you will, right? But my one of my favorites.
Ra is his middle name. John Ra.
Yeah. John Ra.
He likes a lot of genres.
But you pronounce
Oh,
John
you're
like
killing me. You guys are killing me today.
Jean, like in French, like Jean,
Yeah,
genre,
like in genre.
Rah spelled genre. But no, I do like I like a lot of jazz, and
I do. I've been listening to more jazz lately too. I really
and
do.
one and one
Another so way back when that same NAMM show, I met Jeff Berlin for the first time,
nice.
and he was playing with Billy Sheehan of all people, and he
Wow.
introduced Billy Sheehan as the best rock and roll bassist there ever will be.
There you go.
And he's probably not wrong, but that was interesting to listen to Jeff Berlin and Billy Sheehan riff back and forth. I mean, and I wasn't a bass player; I was a keyboard player, but man, it was insane.
So who in your estimation? This is for Tom. We'll do Dave. We'll do you next. Tom, who in your estimation was the best rock bass player of all time?
Well, okay, so I'm gonna say Billy Sheehan. However, I'm gonna go back a few years and say John Entwistle, because if it wasn't for Entwistle, nobody else would have existed. Entwistle was doing stuff with the Who before bass players were doing anything like that. There wouldn't be any prog bass players if John Entwistle didn't do what he did. But if we're talking about rock, especially hard rock or heavy metal, nobody. I mean, nobody is better then or now than Billy Sheehan.
100%. Who would fit that category, fit that bill when it comes to drummers?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question. Wow. So as a kid, I was, as most of us were, enamored by Keith Moon. But as you get older, you learn that there are different styles of drumming. There's pacing, and I really liked a drummer named Jerry Shirley, who cut his teeth with Humble Pie. He also went on to be in Fastway and other places. But Jerry Shirley and another drummer named Denny Carmassi, who started with Montrose, also played with Heart and several other bands. I think those are two of the greatest drummers of all time that most people don't know who they are.
Nice. Very nice. Very nice. And who would you say would fit the bill for guitarist?
Oh gosh. So growing up where I grew up in the generation I grew up in, I'm gonna say if Randy Rhoads had a full life, this wouldn't even be a contest. Everybody, we'd all agree that Randy Rhoads was the greatest of all time. Unfortunately, his career was cut short. But I think you'd have to also say that a lot of things wouldn't have been done if Eddie Van Halen hadn't done what he did. But I'm going back to another unsung guitarist named Ronnie Montrose. I'm going to say that first Ronnie Montrose album was so big that if that album didn't do what it did, I'm not sure Eddie Van Halen would have become what he became.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. And just for good measure, we'll throw in keyboardist.
See, now we're going to get philosophical. So, as again, growing up, there's certain people you admire. As I was a wannabe keyboardist back in the '80s, I was infatuated by the way Patrick Moraz played. He played rock, he played prog, he played jazz. I mean, I was just I was in awe of everything this person can do. Nice. So if I'm talking about just an all around, maybe the best there ever was, it'd have to be a tie between Patrick Moraz and Chick Corea. Those two are rather amazing. But if I want to jump into the rock, I saw many bands live. I saw guys with massive keyboard set, but I saw one band in particular where the keyboard player only played a Hammond B3, and that was John Lord of Deep Purple. And I saw a keyboard player placed front and center in the band without a whole bunch of keyboards around and playing nothing but a Hammond B3 and being the best there ever was. So if we're talking about rock, nobody on the planet, it was better than John Lord.
I love the fact that how humble you were and you didn't say yourself.
Oh God, no, I was terrible, John. I was barely adequate, or somebody would have heard of me. No, I mean, I was a very enthusiastic player, and I tried hard, but no, I didn't have talent at all. These guys were the folks that I wanted to be. That I broke my fingers trying to play like.
Nice. Samurai, go back to bass player.
it's hard to argue with Entwistle, Thunderfingers. One of the things I admired about Rhino was that you can listen to a song as a bass player. I listen to a song like, oh, that sounds pretty simple. Let me pick that up, and that's not simple. What the? How the fuck did he? That's just
Yeah.
oh, the man's inhuman.
Uh-huh.
But Chris Squire.
Oh yeah, Chris Squire was amazing.
Chris Squire pretty much invented lead bass and symphonic bass.
Yeah, but I go back to what I said earlier: is that couldn't have been done if John Entwistle wasn't doing what he was doing.
I'm not arguing that.
He did that all first. But no, I'm sorry, I stepped on your moment there. But no, you're right about Chris Squire. He was amazing.
But John Entwistle knew his place as a bass player, which was to play the bass line and not be the front and center and drive everything. Chris Squire never got the memo.
No, that's true.
And pretty much, he led a lot of the movements. Because let's face it, that was an orchestra. Yes, it was an orchestra in its earlier days.
Oh hell yeah!
Oh yeah.
And he was
that band was so incredible live; it was just amazing.
But he was amazing. I got to give a little bit of a shout out to Flea. I think Flea gets a bad rap. Everyone's like, oh, he's not a traditional bass player. That's what I love about him. He's not a traditional bass player.
Yeah, exactly.
He just goes off and he just feels. And he plays what he feels.
No, but you can't argue the talent. You can't argue the talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For drummer, and I'll make John proud here. Neil Peart. There's very few drummers that produce as much sound as Peart could. Now, granted, Peart had a selection of about 300 different things to hit. So there's that. But
at minimum.
Outside of Peart, though, Bonzo. Bonzo was just, listen to Bonzo's mantra. That'll tell you. Montreux. Bonzo's mantra.
Bonzo's mantra.
That'll give you an idea of what he was capable of, and don't just listen to the album version. Listen to the live versions of him just riffing off of that.
There you go. Guitarist.
Oh, I forgot one with drummer though. Still, I think going back, all the drummers learned what was capable, what you could do with a drum set from Buddy Rich.
Of course.
Buddy Rich was the greatest. He had a very modest drum set. You never saw him with more than 7 drums.
Very modest drum set, and what he could do with those drums. And look, as you said, Neil Peart, and I'll go through mine, much like we do with the top 3 list. I'll just rattle off mine. I won't have that much discussion about him, but what you said about Neil Peart, not to belabor it, but there's many drummers that will tell you the best drummer ever was Neil Peart. All right. Neil Peart, God rest his soul, would tell you that Buddy Rich was the best drummer.
Because they all learned from Buddy Rich.
Right.
Or Gene Krupa.
Gene Krupa, absolutely.
But those two guys, very modest drum sets, but what they were able to do with it. And there was a drummer out there that a lot of people didn't realize that was a drummer. And she never got her credit for it. And it was Karen Carpenter. If you've ever heard her play.
Karen Carpenter was a great drummer. She really was.
Fantastic drummer.
Yeah. Oh, she was. Actually.
My God, she was great. So what was next? Guitarist?
Guitarist, yeah.
Are we just sticking to rock? Because otherwise I'm going to say John McLaughlin.
Yeah, you can have any genre you want. Go for it.
John McLaughlin was he went over to India.
Genre McLaughlin. His middle name is Ra too. Many people don't know that.
John McLaughlin. I had the pleasure of seeing him on his final tour, and just that man he disappeared into music. His head just disappeared to it. His fingers did what they were, whatever his soul was thinking at the time, and it's just. Listening to him play anything from improvisational jazz to Indian raga music to downright blues. There's one of my people talk about island discs, right? What are you going to bring? And there's an album called One Night in San Francisco. It's Paco de Lucia, Al Di Meola, and John McLaughlin.
That's a great album.
Oh God!
And there's at one point that they're doing this one thing. And they're just improvising, and I think it's DeLucia hits this one, boom, and then just goes back off into a riff. But McLaughlin hears that and starts to play off. It goes boom, boom. The other guys catch it. Next thing you know, they're playing the Pink Panther.
Mm-hmm.
But they take the Pink Panther into this jazz breakdown.
That's funny. Oh, that's amazing.
Oh, this came
Al
off
Di Meola was incredible as well.
all three of them were just amazing.
Or is. He's still around, but yeah.
Okay.
But one of my favorite guitars, growing up listening to rock and roll, my mom listened to rock and roll a lot, was, I introduced so many artists through her. Eric Clapton,
Sure.
The Clapton is God comment that was like sprayed all over London at one point. But there's just so many great freaking guitars from back in the day. Like, how do you pick?
How do you pick one? Yeah,
Right.
it's hard. And
Well, see, here's the thing. I hate when people say, well, who's the best? Well, nobody's the best.
No,
We're talking about personal preference, right?
Mhm.
We're talking about whose style you like.
that's why I preface it's your favorite. It's not.
I mean, we're talking about they're better technical players. They're better they're folks that can play faster. I mean, it depends on what you like, right?
Of course. What would be your keyboard player? Dave?
Well, as far as I got to go back to yes with Rick Wakeman. Rick Wakeman.
Rick Wakeman.
Rick Wakeman.
Rick Wakeman.
Wakeman.
But Rick Wakeman. But one of my favorite. I grew up as a massive ELO fan. That was my number one band growing up. And Richard Tandy.
Hello.
Richard Tandy. What he could do with his bank of keyboards, he could make them talk. He could fade into the background and be ambient. He could do whatever the band needed at that time. He was absolutely amazing. There's a lot of great musicians in that band. One of the greatest rock violinists, Mick Kaminsky.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
If you ever heard him live do the Orange Blossom Special, oh my, it's astonishing how good he was. But yes, I got to go with Rick Wakeman and Richard Tandy for keyboards.
That's nice. Yeah, great choices, everybody. That's
Great
awesome.
choices.
Yeah, because like I said, there isn't best. There's who you like, right? What do you like to listen to? Who for whatever reason formed your opinion of music? I mean, for me, a lot of these guys. I mean, John Lord, I mentioned earlier. One keyboard player I forgot to mention was Alan Price. I mean, the first time I heard Alan Price was another one of these guys. Oh my God, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Mm-hmm.
But there's two guitarists I left off though.
I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
No, not at all.
Then I'll give you mine, and we'll wrap up. So there you go.
David Gilmour, and Mark Knopfler. I think Mark Knopfler. Oh God, and Brian May. These three guys, they made those guitars sing. They made it so that you didn't realize there was guitar solo. You just thought the singer was still singing at some points. They were just so seamless into the music.
They were
with what they were able to do, and
still the oddest, small little guitar phrasing, if you will, in prog rock history has to be Gilmour's riff in "Shine On You, Crazy Diamond."
Riff. That's riff implies short. He's just, my God, the things that he was able to do in which part? The first part of the
beginning. In the beginning. So I'll give you mine really quick. So bass player, Entwistle, 100%. Chris Squire, he's the guy, and I would be remiss if I didn't say Geddy. Geddy does amazing things.
Otherwise, the fan club takes your card away.
They do. But that's not to put down Entwistle or Squire, but yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't mention him. What is that?
It's not my side.
Interesting.
It's got to be on Tom's side. What's going on over there, Tom?
He's playing
What's
music.
that?
We're getting a weird sound over.
Yeah.
There's no music here. There's a lawnmower in the background, but
it's a lawnmower. It actually sounded interesting, but anyway.
Because I'm outside. God damn it. Motherfucker comes. It's after 7 o'clock. Some bitch just shows up, starts mowing the yard across the street.
Yeah. So anyway, drummer, Of course, I'm going to say, of course, it's Neil Peart, right? But yeah, all the drummers we mentioned, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say, and not that I'm putting this drummer in Neil Peart or Buddy Rich or any of the other drummers categories, but you mentioned Karen Carter before. I'd be remiss if I didn't say Ringo.
Yes,
You know, I mean,
Ringo was
everybody
very
overlooks
underrated.
Ringo because he's a very underrated drummer. The things he
he,
did.
he very much is. I mean, we've come to a point where he was maligned at one point, but now they refer to him as one of the best studio drummers of all time.
Absolutely. And then for guitarists, yeah, everybody you mentioned. I mean, it's there's so many. Al Di Meola, whatchamacallit, Brian May, Mark Knopfler, David Gilmour, all of them. I mean, they're fantastic. Things that Pete Townsend did were fantastic. And then keyboard player, to be honest with you, is me right there. That's my.
All right.
Now, granted, I'm like 19 in this picture, but that's besides the point.
Oh my goodness!
At this point, he don't know shit from fuck.
Well, clearly you were better than I was, John. Clearly you were much better than I was.
I kid. No, keyboard player. Look, Rick Wakeman was amazing. Jeffrey Downs, amazing.
Yeah.
Jeff Downs
from the Bubbles.
Yeah, but I got to be honest with you. While I love and respect everything about Rick Wakeman, some of the tastiest, classiest keyboards in Yes were played by Tony Kaye.
Tony Kaye, yes, I agree. I was going to say that earlier, but yeah. And I actually got to see Tony Kaye once live, and that dude was. A lot of folks think Rick Wakeman was the original keyboard player, but he was not.
No, Tony Kaye was first, and it was Tony Kaye, then Rick Wakeman, and then Tony Kaye again. Right?
Well, there was a brief spot where Eddie Jobson was in there for about a minute, and then Tony Kaye came back. And Eddie Jobson was another guy that was amazing, but Eddie Jobson was known more as an electric violinist than a keyboard player.
100%. I was fortunate enough to see the Yes Union tour.
Okay, I was too.
In the late 80s. And that was,
yep.
So I got to see
Tony Kaye, yeah.
I got to see Tony Kaye and Rick Wakeman.
Yep.
Steve Howe and Trevor Rabin.
Oh, God.
Alan White and Bill Bruford.
Nice.
And, of course, Chris Squire and John Anderson. So, because there's only one bass player and one lead singer, right? Because there was.
So Howe wasn't the other.
Howe was there.
Oh, did you say Howe?
I said Howe.
So
Howe and Rabin. Trevor.
Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe.
It was Anderson, Bruford, Wakeman, and Howe. And Howe.
So,
what was GTR there?
Yeah, right. So that was a fantastic show, and I actually did. I was fortunate enough to sit.
Was Asia there?
Well, some parts of Asia were there.
You know what I'm doing.
So I actually saw Asia in '82 in the
at the moment?
at the Capitol heat of the moment, right at the Capitol Theater.
Okay.
So I found myself in '82.
I'm a little pissed off about that because I had tickets to see them at the Long Beach Arena in '82, and they canceled the show. I was rather pissed off. Yeah.
All right.
And trying to get money back from Ticketmaster. Oh my God.
Yeah, have fun with
it's
that.
It's like getting blood from a turnip.
Yeah, but in '82 it was like $15, right?
Yeah, but that was a lot of cash back then.
Of course. No, I get it.
Kid. I made $3 an hour in '82. That's 5 hours of work to buy that fucking ticket.
$3.15 an hour, right? That was minimum wage. $3.15 an hour, right? There you go. So anyway. All right. This was great. I'm glad we went down a rabbit hole because that was a really cool conversation. And more on that. And I love when we jump on, Tom, and especially when you do it at the pub and I jump on with you and we go down a music rabbit hole. It's fantastic. I could talk about it for hours, but I digress. We all digress because we're about 9 minutes over what we normally do, and I got to go do a sports podcast. So on that note, Dave, why don't you announce what 2 weeks from now we are going to do, and then I'll do the outro.
2 weeks from now is the second show that we've done that Tom is absolutely dreading. The first one we did was the Agave Spirit Show.
Right.
And it didn't turn out that bad for you, did it, Tom? I make no promises for this show. It's still going to taste just as awful as you think, I believe. But what we will be doing is we will be doing a Malort show.
Malort.
Otherwise known as the Let's Fuck with Tom show.
No. This was by Fan Decree.
Fan Decree. We did not come up with this.
Yeah.
We did not come up with this.
Doug Smith decreed this.
And I just yesterday picked up a bottle of the barrel aged Malort.
I want to make it clear that Doug Smith does not like me.
Sure he does.
Okay, but I am curious. So I don't remember what is our and a chaser portion of Malort.
Well, the and a chaser portion is
Pepto-Bismol or
no.
Well, I think we should, whatever cocktail we make with Malort, I think we should chase it with a shot of Malort.
I was thinking just we're going to chase the Malort cocktail with a Malort cocktail.
I think that's a good idea.
So how about we do a Malort cocktail and then we do a shot and a beer with Malort?
That actually was the original, Tom.
Done.
Was it really? Okay, I didn't know that, but I like that.
Well, because
this is your deal, Dave. I didn't mean to steal that. You can do anything you want.
No. I was actually teasing about that second Malort cocktail because the original was to do a Malort cocktail and then do our version of what's called the Chicago Handshake.
Which is, okay.
Shot of
Malort. Which is a shot of Malort and, oh God, I'm blanking on the beer. What's the beer?
Hams?
No. It's a local Chicago
Old
beer.
style.
Old style, yeah.
Yep, it's a shot of Malort and old style. So
okay, I can't get the old style. Nobody knows.
No, we're not gonna be able to get
I can't get old style here, but is that the theme though? Just a cheap American beer and a Malort? Okay.
Yep, a cheap American beer.
Do you want to specify a brand or can just buy whatever?
Cheap
well,
American
I'll tell you right now what I'm going to do because the label looks similar to old style. I'm going to do PBR.
All right, that makes sense.
I think I'm gonna because are you gonna go out and buy a 6-pack or a 12-pack of PBR? Or are you gonna get a 24-ounce can, the one single can?
I'm gonna see if I can find a 40.
You're gonna get a 40.
Oh, I love this guy. I like that attitude.
We'll see what I can find.
Because I know I can grab. I have an idea what I'm going to do. If we're going 24-ounce cans, and not that I'm going to finish it because I can drink the rest of it if I want to. I can dump it. I can drink the rest of it on the sports show in 2 weeks. But I know the 24-ounce can I'll get if that's what we're doing. So
you're gonna Old Milwaukee.
No. It's something that harkens back to the early to mid '80s for me. One of the cheap American beers that I drank at the time.
There you go. Right,
it's a green can that had a white little circle on it.
Oh no!
Might have had a G at the beginning of the.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting to see how a cream corn beer.
That's what I'm wondering how it's going to pair with the Malort. That's
cream corn beer. I love that. All right. So a rot gut beer and a shot of Malort is our and a chaser. I'm in.
Done. All right.
All right,
here, folks. On that note, we will wrap up the show for today.
By the way, before he goes into it, everyone, just so you know that in about 11 or 12 days from now, we're going to have to remind Tom of everything we just said.
Oh, there you go.
I'm old. I'm 60, guys.
Yeah,
I'm on my last act. This is it for me. It's all downhill from here.
You got 2 or 3 other acts before your last act. Stop. Anyway, on that note, we'll wrap up the show for today. I want to thank everybody for watching. For those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to visit our website. All of the End of Chaser info will be on www.loggerroom.com. It's LAGERROOM.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media. It's basically just on Facebook at End of Chaser. And of course, all of our shows are available on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on Facebook and YouTube every other Wednesday night around 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And for those of you who just want to listen to the audio podcast, you could do so on our audio host, Spreaker, as well as iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Odyssey, Audible, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, TuneIn, Podcast Addict, iTunes Music, YouTube Music, Castbox, Deezer, Podchaser, Listen Notes. Pretty much anywhere you can find an audio podcast, you will find the End of Chaser podcast. And If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great rest of your weekend. Have a wonderful week. Have a great rest of your week. Have a wonderful weekend. There you go. So drink a lot of beer and spirits, but drink responsibly, and we'll talk to you in a couple weeks, folks. Take care.
There really should be a podcast service called What to See.
Cheers.